Welcome one and all, and it's fantastic to see this now being replicated from Manchester's perspective, because this, I suppose, has been a great substitute. Zoom and all that kind of stuff, while I'm not a big fan of it, has been a great substitute for meeting people and greeting people and getting to know people in a certain way. But it certainly didn't, it didn't do anything for what I had for the last 4 hours, was sitting across with a man face to face and speaking about our mind and speaking about a solution to a problem and creating the solution and formula to make things happen, That's a very, very hard thing to do on Zoom. Negotiation is a very hard thing to do on Zoom. And I think that the quicker we get out there and the more we advocate about getting out there, the better. And it's very difficult in times because you have various places going into a repeat lockdown situation. Manchester experienced that themselves firsthand. Leeds, I believe, is on the cusp of doing so again. Leicester was in the same scenario. And touch wood, it'll be curtailed as we learn more about how to live with this situation and work around and circumnavigate. But this is a great start. So what I would like to do, though, is do a little round the house, because this is what has happened in other chapters. And this is where it makes it a regular thing to be able to spend an hour a week having a chat with one another, but giving you the opportunity to actually tell us more about your pathway, how you're coping with things. What have you done for your holidays? What are you looking forward to? What are you not looking forward to? And all of these things, and just lightening things up. But at the same time, while lightening things up, we're able to create some sort of communication that provides the opportunity which we all need and we all want at these present times. So I'm gonna start by going to Kevin because I haven't met Kevin before, I don't think. So as Kevin is strange to me and as I'm strange to him, I'd like to start with Kevin and say, how are you, Kevin? And let us know a bit about your business and what brought you to the seat today.
I was just having a quick look around to make sure there's no other Kevins, so it must be me.
You're definitely you, Kevin.
Yeah.
Yes, you're the one. You're on the spotlight.
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Paul. I did send you a quick LinkedIn invitation as well, so hopefully we can catch up. But yeah, basically my story is I have worked in hospitality for probably the last 40 years. I retired last year from the Radisson Hotel Group. I was Director of Finance for Radisson, looking after UK, Ireland and Western Europe, which was France, Belgium and Spain. In the days of the Celtic Tiger, as you probably would be familiar with, the Radisson brand was flying high in Ireland, and obviously a lot of tax breaks for building hotels and us having the opportunity to manage. So I was lucky last year to retire and go to Japan for the Rugby World Cup and revisit Australia, stay with my sister and visit all the places that we lived when we were over there, with children being brought up. Of course, they're now flown a nest and they're of an age where I certainly don't have to put my hand in the pocket too much, so that's a relief. So when I was at Radisson in the UK, I was 21 years with Radisson in the UK, and at the time sort of put together the pension fund, got quite involved in it to the extent of believing that it was critical. In Australia it was compulsory. In the UK up to I can't remember X number of years ago, with auto enrolment it was not compulsory, and therefore there was a lot of debate as to how do you get young people or people in general to save for retirement, because clearly the state pension won't be there to provide you with sufficient funding. So I got actively involved with putting together the Radisson corporate scheme, and the wealth plan, which we now have numerous people from Radisson and other hotel groups. So we deal with Malmaison, Dakota, Four Seasons, Dorchester, the Lowry. We're involved in village hotels, etc. So we've become, by default, if you like, a sort of specialist in hospitality. Not that hospitality is any different really from any other company. So when I retired, I was just looking for something to do, if you like, and I'm working for a couple of days a month. Manchester, Greater Manchester is my patch now, so really looking to work either with small businesses, SMEs, in terms of developing them, companies with one or two or three directors and a small workforce. Of course, with auto enrolment, they have to, anyone over £10,000, they have to enrol them anyway. So employees are putting 5%. So it's just making sure that it's a scheme that works for those individuals and not something they're putting into because the government says they put into Nest. And then on the higher end, of course, the wealth clients, which we tend to say those with 100,000 plus, working with them in terms of putting together portfolios and wealth funds, and working with them and helping them with their planning towards retirement. And I suppose with the networking that I'm now doing after 41 years in hospitality, I have a pretty good broad range globally of people I know. And a lot working in the Middle East, Africa at the moment, which I'm able to reach out to. So quite enjoying that aspect of actually doing something for them, but at the same time doing what I should be doing as a consultant for an independent financial advisor.
Brilliant.
So that's me in a nutshell.
Just to crack that nutshell, right, and the practicality of what we do here, right? So straight away you've mentioned a couple of hotel groups, and the latter group is one that you haven't mentioned that are a member of BITA. So there's the start in terms of connecting you to the latter group.
Excellent. Yeah.
The other start is that I heard coming out of this was Australia, where we just recently expanded our operation out to Sydney and Melbourne. So if you have anybody in those areas that you could actually connect us to and create a connection with Manchester in that regard, there's another nutshell we can crack. And the third nutshell then is when I heard you were semi-retired or something like that, I thought, do you know what, there's a hot seat waiting for you on the board, buddy. So we'll have to have a chat offline about that, because that's exactly what we want. It's that energy, it's that kind of synergy, it's that kind of like, and this is what this does. This Liverpool started this crack of having a chat with everybody and we all having fun listening and all that kind of stuff. But it's amazing what can come out of it, So straight away, and it's like telling your story, and thank you very much for doing so, and it's a brilliant story to tell. But there's loads straight away. My ink nearly ran out on my pen when I was writing there. So I'm
glad I joined the call. That's all I can say.
But there you go. And all you need to do now is spread the word, and we'll take it from there. So I'm going to go on next to Steve. How are you doing? We're going to keep it with the non-hair team. Right.
So I just wanted to add, Paul, that Kevin has been very helpful in getting us the Lowry Hotel as a venue to relaunch the live event in October.
I didn't connect the dots. Sorry, Kevin. We just emailed. Hi there.
Yeah, hi, Laura. Yes, I just sent an email out, so hopefully we can make it happen. Yeah, great.
Thanks, Kevin, for that.
No problem.
Very good. Very good. So there we go. So, Steve, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for having me. My business partner Mike Robinson and Maureen started a small business in 2017, and of making essentially tonic syrup to begin with, which was something quite normal in the US, but not so well known anywhere else. And they started it and really didn't do much with it at all. And in that year, I was made redundant, and then was looking for work, and I started helping them out and joined the company in early 2018. And since then, we've been trying to drive and grow the business. So essentially what that business does, like I said, if you make tonic syrups and we make handcrafted cordials, and you simply dilute to taste and you get an exceptional drink. So it's somewhat disruptive when it comes to the drinks industry out there, because if you look at what is available for adults, it's quite limited if it's not beer or wine or spirits or something. So in the soft drink sector, it's something revolutionary, quite new and quite exciting. And that means it's bloody hard to sell it because no one knows what it is. So if I just show you, you happen to have a bottle here. This is the tonic. This is the tonic syrup. We do, like I said, 3 other flavors. And you simply dilute with sparkling water, like I said, and that gets you your very own incredible tonic or incredible soft drink. And we only use genuine ingredient. There's nothing artificial in those at all. So we get the dried ingredients and we infuse them. So that means these become very competitive in price. It also means if you're looking to reduce glass wastage, you're saving yourself about 13 bottles of...
Sorry, Steve, there's some background noise on someone.
Just before you carry on, I don't want to lose this, because could everybody else mute?
There's some talking going on.
Or else, if the fella's talking with you, throw a bottle of syrup at him there, because we can't hear.
There's my dog who's Alfie, who's looking to get fed.
Good. So this is very interesting. So continue.
Right. Oh, thank you. So, so essentially, if I just show you that bottle quickly, oh crikey! So that's going to get you about anything between 20 and 30 drinks, essentially. So if you can imagine, if you're running a back bar, and you've got a fridge which is half full of soft drinks, well, that's going to save you stocking that fridge up of 20 or 30 bottles of soft drink. So it's saving you on that wastage, which is a major issue for bars and restaurants when they're cleaning up at the end of the night and they're putting all that empty bottles into the commercial waste bins, and that's costing them a load of money because
so is it like a cordial? Is it like, you know?
So you simply dilute, it's like a cordial. This is a tonic.
Yeah.
So if you want to call it a tonic cordial, that's fine. But you're creating your very own tonic. It's less bitter than a normal tonic. It's natural and well-rounded because it's only natural ingredient. There's nothing artificial. When you look at all of the tonics on the market, they all use extract and they all use flavorings. We don't. We get the dried ingredients and we infuse it. That's why it's a color to it.
So who's your target market, and what reach are you looking for? Are you looking for national reach? Are you looking for local reach, or is this kind of organic Manchester thing?
We do sell these all over the country. A lot of folks down the London area absolutely love this because it's new and exciting and innovative. So we are looking for national. I think we're at the minute, possibly too small for exporting, but certainly, you know, national throughout the UK wide, wherever that is, and Ireland, because it's not that far away. So when we're looking at primarily looking at, well, most of our business ought to come from hospitality.
Brilliant. Well, I mean, there now is a great correlation because most of what we do in BITA, we do so connected to some distillery. I'm not advocating that we're a bunch of alcoholics, but we're not far off it. And, you know, what we do is we do enjoy a drink after an event and all that kind of stuff. So we are the perfect vehicle for spreading the word about something wonderful like this. There was another gentleman actually recently put an article in the last magazine from Manchester as well. And it's amazing how that resonated with some people. So absolutely, you're on the right avenue here. I believe that Laura's already after introducing you to Richard Corrigan's restaurant in London. So
a couple of things. So there's a top chef called Scott Hallsworth. He was the head chef at Nobu in London, and then left to set up his own restaurant called Freaksy. He's a shareholder and is absolutely passionate about this. We were about to do business with the Roganic, another well-known restaurant in London. So it actually fits those high-end restaurants. But what I neglected to talk about was the trend towards no and low alcohol. So those folks who are looking to either reduce the amount of drinking or not drink at all, we are very much targeting towards that trend and getting in front of bars, because there's a lot of bars and restaurants that don't offer a good selection of adult soft drinks. They're typically Coke, J2O, and other types of drinks that are quite simple drinks. These are quite sophisticated and quite adult in taste. So,
and have you spoken to Paul Mirage, for instance? Because
I know Paul and I have been friends for a few years now, and I can't get rid of the guy. So if you can give me any tips on how to get rid of him, that'll be good. So,
oh, he's on the drink as well. Good stuff.
I know.
Oh, because the GM Connect is a great vehicle in terms of putting an article and all that kind of stuff.
I know. He very kindly did an article for us in the last one, so we should be in that.
Good stuff.
So can I just add two things? One, when Paul Whitnell says that we're not alcoholics, what he means is we're actually open to the idea, but we're not quite there yet. The other thing I'd say, Steve, which I may have said to you before, it's a fallacy to think you're too small to export. And exporting, if you sell into Ireland, that's actually exporting. Internationally. But if you can export to Ireland, there are other places you can export to. There is low-hanging fruit that you could go after and find ways of doing. So it's a fallacy. It's an opportunity for you to sell to similar markets. Happy to talk to you about it.
And do you know another way to do this, Steve, is if you just get the label and replace it with BITA on it, and we'll make people drink it as a tonic every morning to be a member. We'll make it a rule that you wake up in the morning and replace it instead of holy water. This is going to be what we're going to replace it with. So there's ways and means, buddy.
I'm hoping
you just keep plugging.
I know. I'm hoping that from next month, as we get towards doing face-to-face networking, as I have been doing with Paul, is to do like a pop-up bar and have people taste these with or without vodka or gin or whatever it is.
That is brilliant. I mean, look at that now for the first two people, and so we're going to keep it on the Know Here team. So in you come, Paul, and tell us what's going to be in the next GM magazine, and how can we help you, and how can we? I see Sterling's working on it there, look.
I never switch off. Well, good afternoon, everybody. For those who don't know, my name is Paul Mirage. I'm co-founder, director of GM Business Connect magazine. Has anybody?
Who's that handsome chap on the cover?
Anybody not seen it? It's available to subscribe for free online, but most of all, we're in print. We go out across the Northwest and find our open rates on our mail shot all over the world. So I came across BITA through Paul Dane of Premium Collections, who invited me last year to go to one of their evening events, and it was all about people who help people, all about people who know people who help people. And I thought, I'm already doing that. So I thought I fit in. I want to be part of this because that's where my soul is. I'm a Forever Manchester ambassador, and I raise money for the charity, and I connect businesses, and that's what I'm about. And it's like today, we've got Steve from Jeffrey's Tonic, who I've been helping since bumping into him, networking, and helping him get into restaurants and hotels, and hopefully, fingers crossed, Steve, the Marriott Hotel, the V&A. So, but COVID came and gave us all a kick in the teeth. But like today, Kevin, I know Kevin through networking with the business network, and Prav I met through networking, who's here today. And it's all about connecting, and it's not rocket science, it's just common decency. And if you've got that, you're going to go a long way. But we did a big feature with BITA in the magazine because, as I say, I believe in it. And we've got good old Tony Goodman in here who writes about exporting. And I know Tony was livid there when Steve said that he's too small to export. I could see his face, and I just thought, don't say that, Steve. Not in front of Tony. We did a big...
Never too small.
I'm Michael Dodd of V-Site inside the magazine as well. So it's all about creating more awareness, credibility for businesses. That's what we're pushing now, credibility and creating awareness. And I'm after anybody that's looking for business awareness, not only in Greater Manchester, but in the Northwest, because we do 15,000 mail shots, as well as the printed magazine. So that's me. As I say, I'm grateful that you came along, Paul, and I really wanted Kevin to have a one-to-one chat with you. And I said that to him last week and today, you know.
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that resonates here is givers gain. And you certainly are an advocate of being a great giver. And I applaud you for that. And, you know, the whole idea of BITA is we're not going away. We're not going away anywhere, you know. Even COVID didn't blow us away, which is incredible. And the core value of what the organization is all about is very much giving and building things together. And we even have a huge emphasis on the next generation with BITA X, which is the younger generation, the millennials, the madmen. You know, they want everything today and they want it now. Like, but we'll teach them a thing or two, and they'll teach us a thing or two as well. And that's the beauty of this. So, you know, having this collective of people who are getting to know each other on a gradual basis, you know, despite the difficulties of not being able to get out there and doing it, we're still resilient. We're still doing it. And, you know, I, for one, will be a great advocate of your magazine, because you did take a big chance of putting me on the cover. You could have actually closed down the magazine there and then. But, you know, in fairness, you've done that. You're a man of your word, and you're a great part of BITA. And I look forward to working with you in the future and building that. So it's fantastic to see this, you know, Manchester chapter now coming together. It's early days, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy the fruits of being involved and bigger part of it as we move on. And, you know, the first event that we're looking at back is in collaboration with you. You know, we want to do a collaborative event. It's not about us. It's not about you. It's about all of us. It's about us together, pulling together. And that's what it's all about. So thanks, Paul, for giving us the front page of the magazine. My mother, 83 years of age, is still wetting herself over it. Well, I told her it wasn't Forbes magazine, but, you know, she said, you know, she just thought it meant an awful lot to her and to me. So thank you.
Let me tell you, Paul, one of the things about the magazine is, and the type of articles in it, with the readership that it has, which is very widespread across the Northwest and in the best hotels and the airport and everywhere else, it gives a great deal of credibility to whoever goes in there. So it gets the name out, it gets seen. It's astonishing how many places I've been where people have come up to me and said, I've seen you in the magazine, and so on. But the one where you get real credibility actually happened last week, because I had a copy of the magazine at home in the news rack, and my 2-year-old grandson was just starting flicking through it, as they do through little books, and came across a picture of me in it and looked at the picture, looked up at me, looked at the picture, looked up at me, like completely mind blown. Credibility, I'm there in print. So it works.
Brilliant, brilliant.
But credibility is very important, because it enables people to be taken seriously. Paul, we know you in BITA, they know you in Liverpool. In Manchester, Paul Whitnell I'm talking to, you're not so well known. Now you can point to that and say, actually, you know, we're a real proper Manchester organisation. BITA is on the map in Manchester, and Paul Mirage has done us a great favour in doing that, and really putting us on the map.
Good stuff.
It's not a little magazine, though.
No, it's actually the perfect size. So, how are you doing? We're now going on to the fellas that are follically challenged. So we're moving up the division. I will pride myself of being as in the same premiership as yourself. So how are you doing? Can you hear me?
Sorry, I think I was on mute. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Usual mistake. So Paul, thank you very much. I'm really enjoying listening all of you out. And in fact, I'm so excited. And thank you very much, Paul, from GM Business Magazine, to for inviting me to this one. And I, in fact, brought whole my team. You can see my team sitting behind. So it's Kevin, Steve, and Laura, all three of us, with me as well. So about myself, well, I'm by profession a qualified accountant, and I worked in the financial sector for almost 20 years, predominantly working with the large corporation, multinational banks. But in the last year and two, just change of heart, I said, oh, I want to do something of my own, and specifically serving the small, medium enterprises. That's the core backbone of any nation's economy. Around 95, 96 to 60, 96% of the people are very much working in the small scale industries. So my expertise very much is in providing accountancy, tax, and business advisory services to small, medium enterprises. So the typical sort of a target market is very much self-employed people, sole trader, partnership firms, limited companies, landlords, contractors. So all those, as you can imagine, who are the actual backbone of the economy are our key customer base. Myself, as I'm based in Manchester South area, and I'm part of a successful network of tax-assist accountants. I don't know how much you know much about it, but this is a national chain of accountants throughout UK. Now, in fact, globally, they have recently opened in US. They already have operation in Ireland, and they have operations in Australia, Sydney as well. So within UK itself, we are very much serving almost 78,000 clients, and from very much 250 plus shop fronts and offices nationwide. So again, this is very much, I am covering most of Manchester South area. And if you, well, obviously you're a bit new to the Manchester arena, but as Paul, very much, we both live in Sale area, South Manchester. Around that area, we have a number of different small towns like Salford, BBC Media, Salford Keys, if you know about the area, Whalley Range, Hull. So all that sort of a patch, very much I cover. So again, any assistance I can provide to the wider group or anyone else, I would be more than delighted to help. That's me.
Tell me, what's your interests outside of your growing your business? So you, where's the accent? Where's that originate from?
Come on, try, guess.
Oh,
no. Well, I'm originally from.
But yeah. I got it wrong.
I'm originally from northern part of India, from Delhi.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But I've been living here for almost 20 odd years now. But yes, born and brought up in Delhi.
Very good. And I believe on the subject of Delhi and India, that one of the areas that has absolutely imploded is the call centers. I believe that they are in big trouble because the broadband isn't available in one's house. So therefore the call centers with COVID there's a massive collapse in that area. Am I correct in saying that?
Well, yes, to some extent you're right, because that's one of the area, being the capital of the nation, still that's been very worstly impacted by COVID. In fact, most of the big cities have been impacted worstly by the COVID, and Delhi is among one of those ones. But yes, with some areas with a poor connectivity, unfortunately, that has impacted the back office business a lot. But yes, but again, as you say, India is very much like the back office capital of the world. But there's still some major corporations around 30, 40 years ago. The GE, if you heard the name, was the very first US-based company who started their operations almost 35 years ago. But yes, that's where it is. So I'm really thrilled, to sort of see you all here and just to hearing you out your businesses. So Paul Mirad, a big thanks to you. Thank you very much.
Well, what we want to encourage everybody to do, right? This is like, I've been at so many Zoom meetings that are absolutely tedious, boring. You fall asleep, you nearly, you end up with saliva all over your computer and the whole lot. Like, it's not good. And what we're trying to do is, bring in the kind of human side to a good conversation at the same time, make the opportunities arise. But what we want you to do for us is, as we endeavor to continue this, is bring some guests on, so when today we have, what's the number? We have 11. If everybody brought one person, the next time we'd have 22, and the same vibrancy will be attached to the whole thing. Everybody gets to have a chat about what they want to have a chat about. And it's, it's not, while I respect other organizations, BITA has its own brand, and I want to keep very much that brand intact. And, it is about people, and it is about people caring about other people and their businesses and taking interest in other people's businesses. So that's the kind of vibe that we're trying to set up here within the Manchester side of things as well. So I'll take Sterling. How are you doing? If you come off mute.
Yes, I'm. Yes, I've never been called a mute before, but this is definitely. Sorry, I couldn't resist that.
I see there's an absence of instruments.
Yes, I noticed that as well.
Yeah, normally
Okay, let's take off the background.
What's happened?
That's much better.
Let's take off the background. Let's just get rid of it, and we'll show you. There we are.
No,
there we are.
Much better background.
Right now, the orange-looking one. That's the latest one.
Yeah.
So I won't bore you with guitars, but let's just say I spend unhealthy amounts of time looking at YouTube videos with some guy unboxing a guitar and talking about the pegs and the bridge and things like that. And so I shall never ever mock anybody, who looks at windmills or anything like that. Each to their own. I think I've met a few of you. Shall I sort of give you a quick introduction?
Yeah.
Okay, where I ended up now with my current business is essentially web design. So about a year and a half ago, I started an agency called Pixel Executive. And I don't have a speciality apart from the fact that I'm now going into multilingual websites in quite a big way. So if anything was my niche, it's going to be that one. And obviously, I apologize for anybody who's heard my spiel before, but my background is not at all in the geek world. I've actually, if I gave you a resume of what I did, 25 years experience of building businesses in the UK, France, across Europe. I'm bilingual, French, English. I've bought, sold, acquired, merged, divested businesses in those 4 countries, started 4 companies from scratch. So you may ask yourself, how did I end up in web design? What went wrong? But about 12 years ago, I sold my recruitment business, an interim management business in France, and came back to the UK and gave it all up, became a professional musician for 10 years. So as you can see, I'm the archetypal entrepreneur. And 3 years ago, I thought, right, enough is enough. Music is great, but it's something you do to enjoy yourself rather than, bring in the pounds and the pence. And I was looking around for something else to do. So I do work with a couple of small businesses on business growth, one in asset-based finance, another one in property development. But I had been building websites for many years, mainly because I was too stingy to pay anybody else, and I'm a tinkerer. And I'm sorry about that expression. And a couple of my clients needed to do new websites, and that was how it all started. And I thought, well, hang on a minute, I can do that, and I can do it a lot better and cheaper. And the difference with me is that when I talk to clients about their websites, I don't talk about their websites, I'll talk about their business. And I say this respectfully to a lot of other web designers. Most web designers and digital marketers, many web designers and digital marketers haven't got a clue about how businesses function. So when they talk to you, they talk about likes, and they talk about clicks, and they talk about widgets, and they talk about color schemes and all those wonderful things. And they are meaningless unless people actually understand what it is they're trying to get out of their website and out of their digital marketing. For me, a website is like a salesperson. It's like a digital salesperson. So if they don't know what they're talking about, you're not going to sell anything. So I think asking the right questions is something that is sorely missed in the world of digital marketing. And that's what I like to think I do. Most of the businesses I work with are small businesses. I stay away from the large corporates for the very simple reason that I'm not set up to deal with them, and they tend to like to deal with large agencies. But for small to medium-sized businesses, I'm I'm very good at figuring out what it is you're trying to do with your business and then translating that online. So that's my thing. And then the last thing to say on that is, of course, yes, I work from home. So the beauty for me is that when I'm sick of looking at the screen, I go across there to my other office, the chair in my other office there, and I strum. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Well, I just to give reference to the strumming, right? And this is a factual story in terms of where we are at the moment is one of the, and this is a serious side, one of the major impacts that this has had on people's lives is mental wellness. And there are a lot of people who are looking at Zoom cameras at the moment, pretending that they're okay. There are a lot of people not okay. There are a lot of people in a bad place at the moment. And one of the things you did during COVID that I'll always remember was a very dear person in BITA, Diane Birch, unfortunately had a very, very special birthday during the period. And it's just a great tragedy that you're caught in between these times. And the video that you done, the video that G guys in Manchester done to sing happy birthday made a huge impact. And it was so well received. So little things can mean an awful lot. And the way you kind of communicate to people, Sterling, is quite amazing. But one interesting, it is all about opportunity, right? I'm going to give you an opportunity here and ask you, are you interested in doing a website for a very high profile character? What it is Michael Crees is a British touring car driver, and we've adopted him as our little BITA baby. In return, he put the BITA logo on the touring car, and 350 million people watch touring car every month. Michael's backstory was he was a plumber 3 years ago. He went and met me out in Spain and told me that his great ambition was to be a touring car driver. And I said to him, well, why don't you go for it? And he said, well, it's too expensive. I can't find the money to do so. So I said, well, that's what BITA is all about. So what we'll do is we'll ask a few people, will they sponsor the car? So what I did was I came back after the weekend. I sobered up first. And I met with a fella called Vince Caldecott from a company called PCS. And he was a petrol head. And I said to Vince, I said, Vince, I'm after meeting a plumber. Because Vince was selling bathrooms. PCS is a bathroom company. So I said, Vince, I met a plumber who wants to be a touring car driver. He's currently British go-kart champion. And if you were to sponsor him in the car, he would then buy all the bathrooms off you because he's a plumber. So Vince said, that makes sense. He met him and they came out of the meeting. Michael rang me and he said, you're a genius. And he said, why? And he said, he's only bought the car. So Vince actually went away and bought the car. So then I turned around and said, I need the car. I want the car. Give me the car. So then I said, right, I'm going to give all my BITA community people an opportunity of getting their name on the car. So normally speaking, it's £150,000 to sponsor a car. But we were able to turn around to a BITA member and say, there, look, 10 grand. If you're doing well in business, rather than spending it and giving it to the taxman and corporation tax, give it to us, stick it on the car. Hey, presto, everybody's a winner. And that's after happening. So today, Honda on the team is Michael Crees. The one thing that he doesn't have is a bloody website, Well,
I think we definitely need to sort that out. Can I just say at this point, that the reason I would be the perfect choice to build him a website is because whenever I meet anybody, they say, "Oh, Sterling Moss."
Yeah, well, there we go. It's a match made in heaven. So, and I love when things come together like this in BITA. So after this meeting, I'm going to put Michael Crees in touch with you.
Yeah.
There's Tony Greenway was going to help him through BITA, but he's a plumber. He doesn't know anything about websites. You're the man. We can get the stuff on the website. We can get his merchandise on the website. And then when we sell a bit of merchandise, we can work about, a bit of a bill that we can pull at the end. Because I don't like asking people to do things for nothing, right? There has to be something in it. But at the same time, there's a way to do it. So if you're up for that, I'll set that up.
Yep. Set that up. We'll talk about it. Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant. So, Paul McGarry, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you were a bit under the weather the last time I spoke to you.
Well, I had what you had, you know.
Right, okay.
I had a bit of COVID earlier on, so I'm fine now. I'm fighting fit, as they say. So good to see you all today.
Good stuff.
So do you want me to do a bit of an intro for me, for the other guests?
Absolutely, Paul, if you would.
Yeah. So my sort of profession is construction, which ties in a little bit with one or two of you guys, I guess, at the end of the day. Earlier on in my career and mid-career, I worked myself up to sort of director level in some fairly large businesses. I was Costain's Northwest man for a few years, which is a big brand, isn't it? MJ Gleason Group, I was regional director of, but as years go by, I decided to have a bit of a go on my own. And these days, I work as a construction consultant, mainly in what Sterling just said, the interim management. So I do interim roles for bigger companies, where I effectively follow. First job generally is to go to somebody's offices and fire the incumbent, and then take his keys and sit in his seat, and then take the business over. So effectively, interim work is generally turnaround and business recovery, and then after a period of maybe months or even up to maybe a year, I look after that business. The ultimate thing is then to recruit a new person into that role and get them bedded in and then leave again, really. So that's my role in generally. That's what I do. I've done a couple of non-exec roles for housing associations as well. But I've probably done I did a 9-year stint with somebody called Taurus, who were Northwest based, and I think more or less second largest housing association in the UK. And that's generally what I do as a job.
You're a great advocate of BITA, Paul, since you joined the organisation. In terms of what you've seen and how it's grown, what would you say are the good, the bad, and the ugly? Now, that's a tough question.
Yeah, it's a tough question. The good is it's networking. I mean, I miss since COVID, obviously, I'm a bit of an advocate like you. I think the face-to-face communication is key, and there's no such thing as a free lunch. You've got to go and work on it, and the best way of working on it is good face-to-face communication. And I think the good thing about BITA as well is it's not. I'm used to a lot of construction networking, and I think it's good. It's surprising what comes out of the multi sort of disciplinary BITA rather than just the construction industry BITA. The bad, there's no bad, I don't think, which is good news, isn't it? So I think everybody's dedicated. It's all good at the moment. And there's no real ugly, I don't think. The bad and the ugly would go together, one would argue. I don't think there's any of that.
So well, I'm glad Christian has this on record, because I'm certainly going to use that piece, Paul.
Yeah. And I think if you're, So I think it's the other good thing I think is there's usually, certainly I'm also an Interact member, but that's all generally construction related, and we do have a good our Interact membership in Manchester. We have a very good relationship with Liverpool as well, putting up just like the BITA one, I suppose.
Well, so one thing we want to do is continue that, but the other thing I suppose we want to do is increase the kind of activity in construction, because there is a great correlation in BITA in construction. I mean, like it or loathe it, 70% of our membership are actually construction centric.
Yeah, I know, yes.
And so it'd be great to increase that kind of level in Manchester as well over time. But that's time is what we've got. We also are making great inroads in Leeds, of course. And we're launching the Leeds chapter in 3 weeks' time. On the 14th of September, we're going up for our big first hoo-ha up there. So I'm looking forward to, I'll actually break down and weep if I hear that there's a lockdown in Leeds, because I'm really looking forward to the synergies up there. But there's a great correlation between the activity of business in the Midlands, and there's a great connectivity and collaboration, a collaborative attitude that happens in the Midlands. And I'm looking forward to exercising that more as well. So I'll keep you posted on that one. So thank you very much, Paul. So Adrian, over to you.
Hi everyone, I'm Adrian from the University of Salford. Pleased to see you all again. A little bit about me. I'm part of the business development team there, attached to the careers service. Really part of that business development is to meet organisations who have the potential to take graduates on. So that's really where that comes in. But as well, the university has got lots of different facets to it, and making introductions is part and parcel of that job. So if I can be of assistance to anyone who wants to make connections with the university, whether that's for graduate recruitment or whether it's for product testing or whether it's for other areas of research or things that we do, then very pleased to make those introductions for you. Background, 25 years in education, involved a little bit of time prior in India. So I was at South Extension, working there. People I was working for had a educational setup in India, so I did a little bit of business development, good few years ago now, and spent some time in Bangalore, which is very different. And unfortunately for me, I missed the cricket season, so that was a downside for me. But the cricket season hasn't started when I was there. Yeah, done a range of different things. I started out life as a teacher before got involved in business development within education, and I've spent the bulk of my 25 years doing that. I've managed apprenticeship programs at different FE colleges before joining Salford, and joined BITA in January of this year. And part and parcel, our one-to-one, Paul was chatting about my reasons for joining was really to try and develop connections with the construction industry, which is a great strength of BITA's. But it's really to connect with businesses of all types, and I do quite a lot of networking. I'm part of the Chamber of Commerce. We're patron members in Greater Manchester. I must admit, the one thing about BITA, Paul, is we've kept it going
Yeah.
where everyone else has shut down. Very much like other speakers today, I miss the connection in terms of having face-to-face meetings with people. That's the one downside, I think, that we've had from COVID, because there's nothing better than sitting down with people and having a proper conversation with them rather than something artificial. And my battery's just gone on the iPad, so just bear with me a second. It's only the second time this has happened this week, but you can probably still hear me and not see me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, we can.
Yeah,
Yes.
just 1 second.
Yeah. I mean, it's likely that we're going to be back together, Adrian, on the 13th of October. So we are working with Laura and Kevin here on.
Yeah, very much looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Life at the university is going to be very different. The students come back, those who are coming back in September, but very much the first trimester, we've got 3 trimesters, is going to involve a lot of online teaching. And I don't expect to be back in the office until January 2021. But it won't stop me doing what I need to do, so I can quite easily work from home, and that's been quite useful for me. You were asking about holidays before. I missed my summer holidays this year. We were due to go to Canada, and then COVID happened, so didn't make it, and took the next 3 months waiting to try and get a refund, which I managed to get eventually. Most of my holidays have been a few days in the Cotswolds, which was fantastic. But you went, Paul, to one of the first loves of my life, which is the Lake District. So you had your holidays up there. So that's where I like to go. But I don't know how you found it.
Well, you actually recommended, and this is the thing, you recommended 2 places to me. You said Amberside, and you mentioned Keswick as well. And
Keswick's great, yeah.
So we actually stayed in Keswick, and we went to a place called Buttermere. And I can honestly tell you, I've never, ever. So, I mean, anybody, typically people go to Windermere because it's the kind of like populous tourist spot. And I would recommend anybody, if I was a tourist agent up there, stay well away from it. It's absolutely, overrun. Go to places like Buttermere, Amberside, Keswick. My God, there's some beautiful spots there. And we drove up through the mountains, and you know, we were on literally, they were like dirt tracks. It was like, you know, fantastic. It was a brilliant thing. The only downside was they brought in this kind of thing for August, the old eat out and dine out thing. And you couldn't get a pub, restaurant for love nor money on a Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday. So we had out at Tesco's, you know, so, you know, it was a great holiday. It was a great kind of getaway, and it was great to see some of the countryside that's out there, because it's, and then on the way back, we actually headed down the other side of the country into Whitley Bay. And I actually came across one of the best beaches I found in the country, a place called South Shields. Fantastic spot altogether. So had a good week.
Yeah, it's a fantastic spot, Buttermere. Recommend it to anyone. Fortunately for us, we went to the Cotswolds, I think, before they got inundated with visitors, and we spent some time in Bourton-on-the-Water, which is the Venice of the Cotswolds, if you've been, with the river running through it and the bridges over. But it featured in the news the other week because it had 10,000 visitors a day coming, and it's not very big, and it must have been pretty horrendous. I think I'd have turned around and come away if I'd have seen that, but yeah, horrendous. So yeah, the holidays, we'll have to wait for another year, I think, and whether we get out to Canada or not in the future, I don't know. But,
well, fingers crossed, fingers crossed. So
yeah,
the best wine to last, as always, Christian. The best wine to last. Tell us about your life. Tell us about your business. Tell us about how everything's going. Tell us about your dog.
Yes, well, my dog called Panache is sitting by my feet. She's a border terrier, the love of my life. She's the mascot of our business, Biramis, which is a business I set up myself. And basically, we are exit strategy specialists, and we work with business owners who are saying, my business is my pension. So we make sure that before the big retirement day, we've been working with them ahead and upstream to build that value. So that's what my current mission is. And I had the great privilege, thanks to Paul, to be involved in setting up the BITA chapter. So that started only last summer. So we are a very young chapter in Manchester, and but managed to get a good little team on board. And you know, between us, we've up until COVID, we managed to rally around, 30 people every month to our live networking. And so we are now looking forward to getting started again and plan for the big launch eventually. So that's where we are. And while we are here, thanks Paul Mirage as well for your support and, co-networking with us. It's been great since we met. Sterling, funny enough, I met Sterling for the first time. I mean, he must have been Sterling 15 years ago or something like that. We met in London, if you remember, at this Turnaround Management Association event in the city. I was coming from Dublin because I was president of the TMA Ireland, and that was a TMA meeting, and we met there. Do you remember? And then in Browns in Manchester last winter, I saw Sterling turning up, and it was amazing because we hadn't seen each other. And I was living now in Manchester, and there you are. So that was an amazing coincidence. And since then, you've been a great supporter of BITA Manchester. So really, I spend my time in Manchester. I go back to Dublin because it's my other kind of home. And I'm working at the moment on setting up a little unit in Dublin. So we're just finalizing recruiting someone on the ground. And COVID has been a funny episode for us as a business. It's been a to be like a sweet and sour chops way, in that obviously we were like everybody, really taken aback by this sudden cliff face, and everybody stopped, everything stopped. But, businesses need support, and we had a bit of a wind in the sail. So actually we've been growing, through COVID. So we've been helping businesses, on a pro bono basis during the tough times. And, the the situation has turned, and now we are very busy. It's you know, we can feel that as of now, September, actually there is positivity in the air. You know, people are you know, back to business. So we're looking for anyone who is planning in the future to retire, you know, within maybe even a couple of years, and we will make sure we help you build, you know, we help the clients build the value. So so that's where I am. And as I say, working with BITA has been great fun. You know, it's a chapter that is on a, you know, on a growth trajectory. So I'm very grateful to my colleagues here who are here, Adrian, Tony, Paul. Thanks for the support as always, and we'll keep going.
Well, very good. Well, listen, I mean, I'm conscious of the time. It's Friday afternoon. I will have a beer in my hand very shortly. Tony, we're going to, I'm not forgetting you, Tony, by the way, just in case you think I am. I'm going to keep you to last. But already, I just want to kind of get people's feedback on this, you know. It's very easy to have an enjoyable hour talking about practical things and creating a real positive relationship with people, and while giving them a chance and not boring the hell out of each other, telling them what you do and all that kind of stuff. So I'd love your feedback on this. I'd love your support to keep this going. I think it's a brilliant idea. Liverpool showed us that it's a great success. They enjoy themselves. The intention would be to kind of have this as a core group and build on it. And then what we would do is, rather than me hogging the airwaves and hosting the whole thing, we'd actually pick a few people who would, and I think the first person is going to be Sterling. It has to be Sterling, to host one and put his flavour on it, you know, because that keeps it bright and vibrant, and everybody then has a different way of approaching things and all that kind of stuff. So that's my intention in this one, if you're all up for it. So the first thing
Sterling, I'll pass on, I'll make you co-host for the next one, because I've booked it as a repeat event. Is that okay for next Friday? Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I've landed two things on Sterling. I've landed a website on top of them, and I've landed a hosting session. So
I can take it.
You're a great man. You're a great man.
I can take it.
So but what I want is basically, you know, this to become the core group. Please support it, because there's nothing worse than when we're trying stuff and we push through the barrier of getting the relevance of BITA by doing these things, you know. We're not asking people for the full hour. If they want to come on for 20 minutes, half an hour, join the group, you know. But if you enjoy it enough, you can stay as long as you want. And that's the whole intention of this going forward. What it will then lead to is, when we do have events, and the collaborative event with Paul and Raj coming up, it'll then be much easier to get those people who have been on these calls to those events. So we'll have a ready-made audience. And we'll have a foundation of a good event that we can then build on in Manchester and get things going. I personally promise to support the Manchester chapter at every event, you know, I can. And when we do become live, I certainly look forward to coming up and speaking in Manchester about, you know, BITA in general and how it's actually growing, not alone in Manchester, but it's growing globally. I mean, our global agenda is talking about plastic and mental health. And we're making great inroads in that. So I look forward to telling you stories about that when I get up to Manchester, but I prefer to have a pint in my hand for that. So that in essence is the whole ambition of this. So I'd love your support to keep this going. Christiane, I can't thank you enough for your energy, passion, and industry in creating the BITA Manchester. A lot of credit has to go down to you for that. And the one thing is, you know,
I need help now.
but you will get help. But the one thing is, like, the unique thing about this is, when something is born, you know, it comes from a source, and you were that source, and you will own that forever. And we will say that forever. So I thank you for that from the bottom of my heart. So Tony Goodman, to finish it up, come on, give us a joke, do something nice, make it happy, and we can all leave on a Friday afternoon and say we enjoyed ourselves.
Hi everyone, my name's Tony, and I'm an alcoholic.
Is it a joke or a serious?
Is that it?
Ah, dear. I'm one of the founders of the Manchester chapter as well, alongside Christiane. Spent last year going to several of the gigs in Liverpool, thoroughly enjoyed them, seeing what is actually possible. And even though there's been a bit of a hiatus this year, been enjoying being involved, even though I would much prefer to be with everyone in the same room at the same time, having a drink in our hands and thoroughly enjoying ourselves, while also helping people meet each other and do business. And that's actually what I do for a living, because since I sold my last business, and Sterling, we have some overlaps. I've been a serial entrepreneur over many years in different industries. Sold my last business 3 years ago, which was a food manufacturing business. I've spent my time working as a consultant, helping people in business. I specialize in exporting, and I'm a DIT export champion. Have been for 6 years now, and continuing to be, working very closely with them on trade policy, export policy, as well as helping promote the idea of exporting to everyone, including the smallest of companies. And I can give you lots of examples, Steve, of other people that are small businesses that successfully export. But I also specialize in marketing. This year, with the way things have gone, I've actually spent a lot of time helping people with general business and accounting and so on. I started off my life as an accountant in the profession in Manchester. Prav, I apologize for this, but unfortunately I had to leave the profession. I was forced out. I just found it too exciting. So I got out a long time ago, but I did long enough. And actually, I've been helping people with CBILS loan applications and bounce back loan applications and furlough. And it's wonderful to see that a lot of those people are surviving. It's strange. I'm seeing a lot of growth in the area in tech businesses, and I was in selling software for more than 15 years internationally, most of the time doing 100+ flights a year. So I wanted to get out of doing that much travel. So for any businesses out there that are struggling, I work with a handful of businesses and do quite a lot for them. They range from software to telcos to food businesses. I can help them particularly on sales and marketing. But also, if necessary, helping them on general management and advice on structuring and getting started. So I've worked with a lot of startups, some of which are now doing fairly well, which is always good to see. And in fact, as Adrian knows, a couple of my clients are actually even recruiting new people at this time. So we're seeing business expansion in some areas, which is great to know. There are a lot of people out there struggling, but at the same time, there's also a lot of people who have been doing very well this year. But there's others where there is great opportunity for them to do a lot more than they have done. And finding those and encouraging them and working with them, as Paul Whitnell does, in putting people together is a great way of doing business. And people like Paul Mirage, in the way that he connects people and publicizes them, giving them that credibility about their business being seen across the region, is fantastic way of doing things. So yeah, if you know any small, medium-sized businesses that need some advice, need some help, want a bit of contact or anything else, please send them my way. More than happy to talk to them. I'm based in South Manchester, like Prav is. And actually, last week, 2 things occurred that'll be of interest. I went into central Manchester for the first time in 6 months, which is the first time probably since before I was a teenager, that I've not been in central Manchester for that long. The second thing, which is perhaps even more important, I holidayed in the Lake District, staying just outside Ambleside. And the places you missed, Paul, were places like Hawkshead, which is, and Ray Castle, which is where Beatrix Potter first stayed when she went as a teenager to the Lake District with her family. And it is the most beautiful part of the world. And recommend it to anyone that is looking for something really special. It's one of the most beautiful places in the world, and get off the beaten track. Places like Buttermere are just stunning, whatever the weather. And it's a great place to go. So I was there with family, which made it even better. But I didn't bump into Paul, so I don't know what went wrong.
You're a lucky man. So listen, guys, thank you very much for joining us. Sterling, if you could send me an email after this, I'll link you up with Michael Crease directly, right? I enjoyed your company. I look forward to doing this again. And everybody have a great and safe weekend.
Okay, thanks everybody.
Thank you guys.
Cheers.
Take care.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.